Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Painless Universal, a conversation with myself and Welsh. Today's conversation is very sensitive. It's one of joy, one of finding hope, and one of faith. It's one where you believe in yourself no matter what life throws at you. Our guest today's story will inspire you to keep going. But I must admit, this conversation might be difficult for many to watch because we'll be talking very deep about her journey. Kechi Okwuchi was born in October 1989. She's a Nigerian American singer and motivational speaker. What is so inspirational about her is she's one of two survivors in the Sosoliso airline flight 1145 crash on December 10th, 2005. The plane crashed and claimed 107 people's lives, of which 59 were her school, college friends. She received 65% burn and given a 30% chance of survival. She didn't let that stop her. You can imagine the pain she felt the day she saw herself for the first time, not realizing who she truly was. But that never stopped her. She found hope. She went on to graduate from the University of St. Thomas in Houston, Texas with a first class honor. She's a motivational speaker, and she didn't stop there. She was a finalist at the 12th season of America's Got Talent. Meet my guest, Kechi, as she just shares her inspirational journey of hope, one that we all need to listen to and understand. In tough situations like this, everything going on in the world, we think, oh, this is the end of the world. While so many other people have been through this before, and they know very much. Unless you believe, unless you have faith, it's never going to be easy, but you just have to keep going. Let's hear her beautiful story. Meet Kechi. Hello everyone and welcome to Painless Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. I have the amazing Kechi here with me to talk about her journey of being one of the two survivors from a plane crash that happened a long time ago in Nigeria. She has been on this beautiful journey. It's been painful, but she's managed to find her joy around it. Meet Kechi. Kechi, how are you today?
And hi, everyone. Nice to be here. So nice.
Where are you joining us from? Where are you?
um,
Yeah.
where am I right now?
Mhm.
I am in Houston, Texas. That's
Oh,
where I am. Yeah, been here for a while.
Kechi, your story is truly, I was watching it, I have to admit, I started crying. And I don't know why I was crying, but I was crying because I saw someone who refused to give up, as they say, and someone with such strong mental capacity. But I know it hasn't been easy. There've been lots of challenges. Before we even
Oh
get to
yeah.
all of that journey, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So yeah, my name is Kechi Okwuchi. I'm 31 years old. I am Nigerian, Igbo, and I live in America in Houston, Texas. I am a singer. I am a budding author, and I'm a speaker as well, inspirational speaker. And yeah, these are really I guess, the three main things I can use to define myself right now. Amongst other things, that I do, like being a burn survivor advocate and a bullying prevention advocate. The main things I do really are sing, speak, and write. So yeah, that's me.
I like that, burn survivor advocate and a bullying, because people think it's just one, but they don't realize it comes with five. Because when you have that issue happen to you, it automatically generates people to automatically assume things and start
That's true.
that negative word. So I'm like that you fall in both categories. You're not just doing one, but you're doing both.
Hmm.
Catchy. Your journey is truly amazing. And that the fact that you're so open to share your story to help others and encourage others to be, to be confident to speak about their journey. Many people who are listening today would want to understand you a little bit about your journey, about that day, that fatal day when this happened. I think it's in
Mm.
2005 when you
Yes, it was.
playing. Why was it that you guys all decided, all the school class, and most of them decided to board that particular plane that day?
So, really, it was more of a routine thing. This was the end of the Christmas holidays, um, end of the semester. And typically, what happens is that students who live in the same area board the same plane to go home. So, this was something that we'd always done every year, end of every semester. It was nothing out of the ordinary at all. So, typically, those of us who live in the eastern part of Nigeria, myself and many other kids, whether it's Port Harcourt, Aba, Owerri, that whole area, basically, we would typically be on the same flight to go home for the holidays and also to come back to school. It used to be by bus before when we were in juniors, like in junior high, but then it became more prevalent, it became more convenient, I guess, to fly instead, and it's faster and everything. When I got to my senior secondary school, senior high school. So yeah, that's what that was. It was just the usual, where the fall semester was over and it was time for the Christmas holidays and we're heading home for Christmas. That's all it was. There were 61 of us, and the 61 students were from spread across all the different years, the 6 years of high school in Nigeria. So from JS1 to SS3.
Wow. And so you got on this flight. Did
Yeah.
anything tell you anything unusual, or did you, people always say when things are going to happen, they always have this feeling. Did you get any of those feelings within yourself, or
Like the only thing that like felt wrong was right up at the moment when things went wrong. Before that, everything felt very normal. The day had gone normally. The day had started normally. We got to the airport, everything was normal. Flight was delayed, that was normal. We boarded, everything was average. The only thing that was off that day was that I had an aisle seat instead of a window seat. And I know my mom knows I love window seats. I don't like to fly where I can't see outside. I love looking outside while I'm in the plane. So that was the only thing. When I got in and I saw that I had like an aisle seat, I was bummed. And I remember just thinking, that's weird. Why would mom book me like an aisle seat? She's never done that. But that was the only thing. Aside from that, it was cool because I was able to sit next to another friend of mine, like a friend of mine who was in the aisle seat next to mine. So I didn't complain as much. But um yeah, that was the only thing. Then the plane took off. Everything was normal. Like the flight was fine until it wasn't, literally.
remember that? I know it's so hard to remember those bad memories because I always even say that with myself. One of the things I hate to remember is a bad crisis when when you have all the oxygen and everything. I just hate to remember because that gives me crisis. But when I have to tell a
Mm,
story, obviously I have to numb it to tell the story for people.
mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah,
remember that day, that fate, what went wrong, and how
yeah.
what you remember.
So I just remember that the flight was about maybe an hour or so, hour 30 minutes, um, which is usual. And I remember just everything was fine until the turbulence started. And this turbulence started like when we had started the descent. So when the pilot made the announcement that we would be landing soon. He started the descent to get the plane down to land it. And then the turbulence started, and it wasn't anything strange. It happens when you're flying. But then it started to get really like dramatic, very exaggerated, and just kind of a little, scarier than usual. And I just remember thinking, you know, um, wow, it feels so tense in here. Like it was just no one said anything, it was just like a quiet tension in the air inside the cabin. And then it was just like it just felt like it was getting worse and worse. And then the lady at the back of the plane, because I was in front, like kind of screamed, she was like, "Oh my God, like is this plane trying to land?" Like, and when she said those words, like everyone started like panicking. I just remember like sitting there in just silent awe at the fact that like like, is this actually happening in my reality right now? Is a plane like malfunctioning like around me? And people were just like screaming, blood of Jesus, and just yelling. And I just, I knew that that was like something had gone wrong. And I remember not even feeling fear. It was kind of too shocking, really, to even like contemplate fear or to feel fear. It was just like, what is happening? I was just in this state of confusion. And then I held my friend's hand from across the aisle. I held her hand, and we're like, what do we do? Should we pray? What do you like? We didn't know what that. We just we don't you don't no one prepares for such a situation. Like, it was just all of a sudden, it was all happening in like seconds. And then those are the last words we spoke to each other. And I just remember her eyes, like she was just like they were wide and like glassy and so afraid. And like that was probably exactly how I looked as well. And then it was just like this loud scraping metal sound that looked like jarred my ears, like jarred my brain. And then I guess I blacked out at that point, because my next vivid memory after that is opening my eyes and I was in the hospital in South Africa. And yeah, the rest of the in between is mostly,
David.
it's
No.
blank. Like, it's just a blackness. Yeah. I
Mm.
do have flashes of memories from that blackness, though. Things that I thought were dreams, but my mom confirmed later on that actually happened. Like lying in the gurney and lifting my hands, looking at my hands with like my skin just like hanging off. And I was just looking in awe. I couldn't feel anything. It was just like weird that that was my hand, Like, why was my skin doing that? And I remember shouting about like pressure, like I could feel like pressure in my hands, like my hands felt like they were gonna burst. And my mom told me that that actually happened, like those things actually happened. And she was there. At that point she had been called to the hospital, told that I was alive, and she was there. So she saw, yeah, because of the burns, like my body like swelled up like 3 times its size because of the water retention or something that happens when intense burns happen. So yeah, the pressure was real. But aside from those like little flashes here and there, yeah, it was just blackness, just black, dark. And
And
apparently I was in a coma for 5 months, yeah. And then I woke up in South Africa.
South Africa, not Nigeria, South Africa. And
No.
this reminds me
Hmm.
about healthcare in our country. And one of the reasons why we always advocate for the best healthcare globally, not just in
Yep.
certain parts of the world, but globally, because
Yeah.
why would an accident like that happen to you and you end up in another country? Why can't that
Yep.
has one of the best doctors in the world
Mm-hmm.
not be
Mm-hmm.
able of that thing? So, you know, you go back to that story. One of the things that I always think is that's your mother. Your mother, this is where the mother's love comes from. When your mother first saw you, when you got out of coma, 5 months later, what did she tell you when you came out of coma? Can you remember anything?
It's interesting because I remember my mom being there with me even before I opened my eyes from the coma. She has been a constant at my side since that moment happened, since that moment in my life
Mm,
when everything just like turned on its head. She's been the one constant thing. And she was there before I opened my eyes, because I would hear her voice when she's talking to me when I was in the coma. I would hear her speaking to me, explaining what happened to me, singing to me. And before I opened my eyes, her voice was already my anchor, really, to reality, to this world. And even in my subconscious, I looked forward. I kept time really with her voice and her presence, looking forward to when next I would hear her voice and when next I would hear her sing. And it's because of her that I woke up kind of knowing like where I was and what had happened. A lot of times there would be moments of like disorientation where it's like because of the meds and everything in my system. But I know when I opened my eyes for the first time and I saw her, I knew who she was. I knew where I was. I knew why I was there. She'd been telling me these things from when I was lying unconscious. So yeah, she was there from even before I opened my eyes.
oh, she's a wonderful woman. I think We take for granted our mother and our parents as well. We just take them for granted, but we don't realize they're the backbone of everything, of our survival. So when you remember waking up, do you remember the pain you felt and the drug pain as well? Because people assume it's just the pain of the burns. If you don't realize the pain of the drug, the side effect the drug gives you, the insomnia it causes you, so many other things, the uncomfortableness of being in hospital. People don't understand that unless you've actually been in hospital, then you understand the story to be told. Can you remember
So
that
true.
complete itchiness? I remember breaking my bone and I had to put that plaster on my arm. And I remember I just
Mm.
wanted to rip it off. I was so mad. I was like,
Oh my
I
God.
don't care about this healing. I just want this to be off. All the side effects I get from morphine tablets when I have
Oh,
devices and I have morphine. I am itchy. And I said to the doctor, stop it. I'm itching. So,
oh my God. Oh my gosh.
could you, how was it for you?
It was hell. It was absolute hell. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I mean, I recently finished my manuscript for my book, and I had to revisit all those memories, like in harsh detail, memories that I have kept locked up for good reason inside me for a very long time, have never revisited, even after I started, all this like traveling and speaking since I was on this TV show AGT. Like I still hadn't like rehashed those memories, and it took me so long to write that book because it took me that long to uncover and like delve back into those memories. It was extremely difficult, and I mean this in layers, really. The pain was one thing, um but the itching that came with the burn injuries as they healed was its own demon entirely. Nothing stopped it, nothing could curb it. There was no medication at the time in South Africa. They didn't have anything they could do for me with the itching. So my only escape from that hell was the medicine that they used to give me. It was I can't remember what it's called, like maybe here, but I know there it was called Dormicum, and it was, I think, a muscle relaxant. I think that's what it was. All I knew was that it gave me sleep. That was the only way that I could sleep, was through that medication, that particular drug. And I looked forward to it because that was the only time I could escape from the hell of living inside this broken body. Like it was absolute hell. And my mom, she did everything she could. She distracted me. I mean, when the itching started, that was really when the really hard time started for me. This was about 3 months, 3 months ish into being in South Africa. But before that, it was the pain. And my pain, because I had a third-degree burns, and it covered 65% of my body, which just means everything from top to bottom burned except for my torso, which is where they use skin to cover the rest of me up. And the kind of pain that I had to deal with was again layered, because there was the burns, and then there was the daily injections that I hated that they used to put on my stomach to keep my blood from I
Butter?
guess coagulating. Yes, exactly, from clotting.
Yeah.
Because of the, just lying there for months, stagnant, it can cause a lot of issues. And then there's the pain of moving me around, in the bed to make sure the circulation continues. The pain of physiotherapy that they had to do before my burns healed fully, so that I could have some manner of movement retained before everything healed and tightened up, which is what burns tend to do. And then came that pain from the tightening burns. Yeah, it was just a lot of layers of issues. I will not lie. It was a very hard time. And, I really have not talked about the details of how hard it was until this moment, just because I only freshly revisited those memories. So yeah, that's really what those first 4 or 5 months were. And I was in the trauma ICU for 4 months, 5 months ish actually, before I moved to the ward. Moving to the ward was a big deal because that means I'm definitely not gonna die. So that means I don't need that 24-hour round the clock care. But the ward had its own issues as well, because I was healing and I was tightening, and everything was just so painful. but I also had a lot of psychological, I want to say more emotional, I suppose. That was the word was really the period in my life where I questioned God. I basically had to kind of reinvent my faith and what it would mean to be a Christian and a Christ follower, and what that would mean for me as a burn survivor, you know, coming to terms with the fact that this happened to me, but us also understand that it has nothing to do with God's love for me. I struggled a lot with just putting the two things together and understanding how to, come out of this intact mentally as well, not just physically. So that was the ward. And yeah, I mean, honestly, South Africa was just a very tumultuous time, but it defined a lot about who I am, for sure. Before I left there, I understood a lot of things about who I am, and it basically helped me moving forward. So,
I have to touch on one bit, which a lot of people, because with my pain is chronic illness and it's invisible. You can't see my pain, you can't see my struggle.
mm,
I could be sick every day of the year. The only time you know I'm sick is if you take blood out of me. Then you say, "Oh my goodness, how sick are you, and why are you so sick?" But with your pain, it was physical. You could see it.
you see it, yeah.
When you looked at the mirror, because I've seen pictures of you. You're just as stunning as I am. So anyone who wants to know, you just like me. When you look at the mirror and you saw your new blessing. I'll call it a blessing from God because I think when we look at disadvantages in our life, we also have to look at it also in a positive way because everything that happens
Hmm.
in our life leads to something. There's a message for it. Your message is you have your message which God has told you. Probably you found by now. But when you look at the mirror, what did you think?
The first time I saw myself after the accident, yeah, that was interesting. I remember actually the interesting thing then was as worried as my mom was about how I would react to my reflection, I was probably like doubly worried because I was very pretty before the accident. Like I was like I knew this. I was very aware of it. So I definitely was someone who took a lot of pride in her appearance. I really, I guess, just had so much confidence because I looked that way. I don't recall. I didn't really go through the whole, teenage awkwardness. I just, my parents always told me I was beautiful, and I internalized that even before I got to like my teenagehood. So I just had this confidence that came from my looks. So knowing that I had gone through all these burns and understanding that it was like full, like body, head, face, everything, I knew not to expect what I was used to. And I was so worried that when I saw how I looked, it would affect my personality and my confidence. Because as far as I knew, my beauty and my physical appearance played a big role in how confident and how my personality was really. As far as I thought, that's what I thought about myself. So, and I had things about myself that I liked at that point. I was a 16-year-old kid who obviously had a lot of flaws and a lot of like issues and hangups, but like so far I could say that I really did like my personality. I liked how I was, just optimistic, always easy to laugh, and make jokes and just live very open and positive, positively, just presenting myself to the world, and just not being taking things too seriously. Like I just had some things about me that I really liked, and I really hoped that I would not lose those things just because my face was different. So I was actually very scared about how I would react. I was hoping that I would be okay with what I saw and not have to pretend to be okay. So I remember when I finally asked my mom for a mirror, and she like explained a bunch of things to me. Like, first of all, don't freak out. Okay, you're gonna be okay. The doctors are gonna heal you. We're still in the beginning of this journey. We have a lot of surgery. So I remember just thinking, okay. I mean, this obviously tells me that it's very different, but it's cool. So she gave me the mirror. She raised it, like, gave me the mirror, and I looked at myself. And I remember the first thing thinking was like, wow, everything is just so pink. Like, I had no skin. My face was just like flesh. It was so weird. And it was like, wow, I really do not look anything like me. That's very weird to look at a reflection and not see the expected, like, appearance. there was like a disconnect for sure. But even in that, it was odd. I could, even as I was looking at a person who did not look like Ketchy, the person still felt like me. I can't really explain it in a physical way, but there was something familiar about my reflection. And it wasn't necessarily in my physical looks, it was just something about the vibe coming off the reflection. But then when I did look deeper, I could see, like, I guess I expected like something extremely crazy, like my eyes would be there, my nose would be there. But like when I looked, I could see my eyes still where eyes are supposed to be. I saw my nose, I saw my lips didn't burn. And I remember just thinking, huh, it's not as bad. Like, it's like really not as bad as I thought it was going to be, you know? And my mom just like broke out in like thanksgiving and prayer, and she was like crying. And I just guess she must have been very, very scared, really, and I can just imagine as a mom, like
Yeah.
dealing with that. I can't even imagine like how scared she was for me and how I would take it. But I really did feel like it still looked like Catchy, even if it didn't.
Mm,
And I think that's a very significant moment in my life, because
wow.
I just there was a lot of relief that I
Mm,
felt. It was like, oh, okay. So I mean, I don't feel different. So that means, like, despite this, I'm not different. So I realized, okay, so I don't have to like worry about changing my personality or changing how I like to be. And I came to an understanding that a lot of things I thought um were birthed from my physical appearance weren't. They seem to still be there, even like despite my physical appearance changing. And that really gave me some insights, just the fundamental truth of who we are as people, and how that is something that is not it has nothing to do with the surface. That's something that stays on the inside of you. And honestly, if we were if we're people who kind of had our lives based off of our physical appearance, I feel like, then we would always change every time our appearance changes. And we do change. We grow, we get from young to old, gray, we die eventually, but like the body changes so much. We
mm,
can't change every time it does. So I came to understanding about that in that moment there in South Africa. And I think that was the first step to really realizing just the important truths I would have to live with,
yeah.
if I was to come out of this, fully healed, mentally, physically, everything. So
Kechi, I think I love what you said. It's accepting your body that we will all change. In a few years' time, you might be beautiful today, but wait for X amount of time, you will not be, definitely not be the same. It doesn't matter how many plastic
doesn't
surgery,
matter.
it just doesn't matter.
It doesn't stay stagnant. Yep.
Yeah. And you as one came and that you appreciate it. And I think that would teach a lot of people. If I could ask you a quick question before we go into
Yes.
our finding joy.
Okay.
Who is Mina? You, your family, or the outsiders? Who's the meanest of them all?
Meanest.
Hmm.
I think me.
Huh.
I
I-
think me. I will. I'm good. To be very honest, and my experience, being so different, looking so different, was really not as bad as I thought it would be. Um, I didn't like. I was the reception I received from others, 99% positive since the accident happened and up until this moment in my life. Honestly, the most like negative reaction I've ever gotten started only after my story became more like exposed because of my appearance on America's Got Talent. And that was only from like commenters, who are always gonna, anonymous people who just say crap online because they can, not people who actually know me, therefore they don't really matter. But like in person, living my life every day, I have been blessed to encounter just human beings who are willing to look past what they see to really get to know who I am as a person. And I do believe that that is a two-way thing. You know, people will go off of what I give out and what I choose to give out to the world as well. So I think just be me. I've noticed from very long ago, from the beginning, really almost, that when I'm myself, it helps people relax more around me, and allows them to see past, you know, the physical that they see, and that's what I want, is for people to see that really when you talk to me, I'm really just like you. I'm a human being, but I think that I play a role in helping them see that as well in the way that I present myself to the world. So I'm grateful for the fact that I've never had to pretend to be okay when I'm not okay. Me being authentic and me being myself is something I think has been very consistent before, after the accidents. And I think that's a big reason why, when I meet people, at least from my point of view, it seems like they relax around me eventually, and realize that it's okay to just talk to me normally, and not have to, like pussyfoot around me. So I think that, yeah, so really I think, I mean, my family is like, without question, I don't even have to mention the I believe the acceptance that I received from them, like from the beginning, was probably a big reason why I felt like it was okay to be myself outside to other people, because there was never any like doubt or question, whether it's my sister, who was like 5 when this happened, but she never acted once like she didn't know who I was, even though like she was so young. And then my mom, of course, who was there even before everything started, my dad, of course, my aunts, my uncle, my cousins. I had always been surrounded by this loving support system of people who just were happy I was alive. So excuse me. So yeah, I think from there it just
Mm.
kind of reinforced feeling like, okay, I mean, it looks like it's okay for me to be me. And so when I got out there, that's what I put out there, and so far it's been great what I've received, what I've gotten back. I think I'm my worst critic. For sure.
Oh, wow.
I think I'm worst. I think I'm meanest to myself for sure.
No,
But aren't we all? I feel like we are. I think we are our own worst critics, aren't we? I think we are as human beings.
yeah,
Yeah. So
we're
hard
very
on ourselves.
and something we need to look at and stop doing because it's not
Yes.
doesn't get us anywhere. We should appreciate ourselves more, be more confident.
I
In
believe so.
Kechi, you went on and you decided, look, I'm not going to let this define me. I'm not going to feel pity on myself. I'm going to find, so I'm going to do something. And you just didn't do it for yourself. You said, I will do this. I want to give back to society. I want to give back to the children and the other children and their families who died
Yes.
in accident. I want to be their voice. I want them
Yeah.
to look back where they are. They left too soon. I didn't leave, but I didn't leave for a reason. So if I didn't leave for a reason, I have to show these people that have left, pay my respect, not just to them, but to their families. You
Oh yeah.
and you went to university, you completed university with the first with honors, and not only that, you decided to go to an amazing talent show. Could you tell us how all of that started? Why? How did you just first find your joy and going to the talent show?
The talent show. So I'll be honest. This talent show was not something that I was ever going to do on my own. I did not have the confidence in my voice that my family and my friends had, and I did not think I was good enough for a show, like any kind of show that was competitive. I loved singing, I always have, even before the accident, but my voice did change after, which is a weird phenomenon that like we can't really explain in my family, but it's a thing that definitely happened. And so I've always felt the need to do something with my voice aside from singing karaoke in my house. So I started singing in my church. I went to my worship team. And to me, that was like putting myself out there. I was good. I was not going to do anything more than that, no matter how much people may have told me that they think I should do this and that, because I just didn't think I was good enough.
Mm.
So if not for my one of my best friends signing me up for the show without telling me that she signed me up for the show, I would not have ever signed up for America's Got Talent or Idol or any kind of talent show, because like I just did not. I watched those shows and I know the caliber of like singers that I see on there, and I'm just like, no way, like there's no way. And I just felt like, nah, like, and even if I wanted to, I felt like I just looked so different now from what like would be considered like TV ready, that I felt like even less of a chance, even if my voice is good enough, because I just, with all these burns, I just don't see a lot of people that look like me on TV. So, why should I expect anything to happen from that? So I had all these reasons, all these excuses, just to not put myself out there. I had a whole different trajectory for my life. I had academia. That was where I had been so focused on, and I felt like this is where I'm supposed, like, if I want to make myself of value to society, if I want to live my life like I've always promised I would for the 60 angels that passed away and for their families that they left behind, if I want to do this, it's going to be through doing something like, professional, something that I saw, you have to go to school and study for this and then get a degree and then go out, get a job with that degree. Like, I just thought that that was what I had to do with my life. So I was working so hard to do that. And then I get like this phone call November 2016 from a woman whose name was Destiny. And she said that she was a talent scout for America's Got Talent. And she saw my application. And my friend had told me that she was going to send this application in. She told me that. She even sent this to me because she was like, look at what I sent. Look how it looks. And yeah, I gave her the okay, and I was like, I mean, if you're gonna go this far, go ahead, like, but I had no expectations. So when I got that phone call, I was so confused. Like, I remember the phone call woke me up like 8 a.m. ish, and after we talked, like after she talked, I hung up and I just went right back to bed. And then I woke up like 2 hours after, like, what was that? Like, did someone call me? Like, what? And I called the number back to confirm that this was real, and it was. And even at that point, I told my mom, told my sister, told my dad, told my friend, obviously. And even at that point, it was like, nah, I mean, how far is this gonna actually go? Like, they saw my story and they heard my voice and they thought like, maybe there's something there. But like, I was just not gonna put any hope in this, because I didn't even do it myself. So why would
Mm.
I didn't want to put any kind of thought into it.
So you
And
went,
then it just kept escalating. It just kept going and going. And before I knew it, I was in California filming the audition. So yeah, I mean, once I got those 4 yeses from those judges, the rest literally was history.
and you
They
got
just kept
golden buzzers.
bringing me back.
Wait,
Yes, that was like, so I was on the show twice. The
from
second time I was on the show,
sorry?
that was when I got that buzzer. So I was on the show twice, 2018, I mean 2017 and 2019. And the 2019 performance was the Golden Buzzer performance, which basically just changed my life. And oh my God, like, and then from Simon, of all people, now, like, that moment was, I will say, so validating also, because it felt like he was trying to just let me know that, yes, like, my voice is the reason I deserve to be here. And I mean, it was a gift, really. And honestly, it gave me a lot more confidence in my sound, and it allowed me to feel more sure in the fact that I did have a voice that people would actually want to listen to. So yeah, that's what AGT was.
No, that was something. That was American Got Talent. I think that was truly amazing because your voice was so beautiful. And I remember the
Thank you so much.
when you came on, I was like blown away. I thought, wow, isn't this just truly amazing? And I'm so glad that your friend did this by, inspiring you to go ahead and
She put me
inspire.
out there. She did. She
And
believed in me.
she really, I'm really glad she did because she saw something you didn't see, but obviously she was
Exactly.
a direction no one knew. What next for KG? What next for you? What would you? What next? What should we expect from you coming forward?
I hope so many things. So many things. What America's Got Talent did for me, the main thing that it did for me, aside from expose my voice and my story to the world, was to give me a platform that, like, I don't know how else I ever would have gotten such a platform, but they gave me a platform upon which to build whatever it was that I wanted to share with the world. And of all the things of me that I want to share, being able to share my voice was one thing, but being able to share my story in a way that would inspire people to live their authentic lives despite what they've gone through, and to realize that there is life after trauma, to exemplify that fact to as many people as possible, I feel is a big part of why I'm put on this earth. You know, I had no idea that my story would be something that could be used in this way, but I think that God has been unfolding His purpose for me from the beginning, really. And I started to just realize this, only a couple of years ago. And now I just pray that He continues to allow me to share my story and my voice with the world in as many capacities as possible. I feel like we live in a world that is so flawed, and we cannot change the world like in our lifetimes, to the utopia that we hope it would be. But in our own individual ways, like the way you're doing with your platform, and then the way that I'm trying to do with mine as well, we can do the little that we can in our own little way, and then all that stuff adds up. It adds up, and the good just adds to more good and more good, and then eventually we can make that impact. So that's really what I want, is to continue to add my own little good to this world, so that if it becomes better in some way, in some degree, then I feel like my purpose has been fulfilled. So when I give speeches, when I talk, when I do things like this, if even one listener or one person in the audience hears me and feels any kind of positivity from my message, that's all I need, even if it's a crowd of like millions of people, just the one. So that's what I hope to continue doing with all the different like gifts that God has given me. Speaking being one of them, singing being another, which is like just my honest to God passion, and writing, which is something that I never thought I would actually do professionally, but here I am actually working on publishing a book. I didn't see that coming in a million years when I was in high school, when I was writing my little fictional stories for my friends to read. I just didn't see that becoming a life thing, but that's really what I want to show people through my voice, through my talents, to just continue to inspire people to find their own voice and their own talents and explore it and share it with the world and add their own good to the world. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do with my book. I have an album coming out as well, music. So yeah, I just have all these things I want to share with people. And anyone who follows me will definitely, be aware of when I'm releasing all these things. So yeah,
Don't worry, we'll be posting. I'll be sharing it when they come out and making
you're the
sure
best. Thank you.
you're aware. I think from my point of view, from talking to you, what I've learned here is that you are here for a purpose, and not just to shine a light on people who suffer trauma, burns, or bullying of any sort, but also shine a light on our continent, Africa. To shine a light, you're very bold about talking. You're from Nigeria, and
Hmm.
the accident happened there, and it needs to shine a light on the suffering still going on in our continent, in our country, and the lack
Yep.
of accessibility to healthcare, which
Yep.
is a major problem. So many people are dying needlessly
Yep. From
from.
like the most basic
Yeah,
illnesses too, from the most simple.
yes, and I hope your voice shines that light, that people start taking note that there is a need for us to have better healthcare infrastructure on
So
that
key.
continent. And I think for
So
me,
key.
this is really the bullying, the burns. I get that, but the continent pain, I think you are that shiny, sharp star who will make that difference. And
Oh
this is
my gosh, I pray so. Oh
I'm
wow.
really proud to talk to you, Kenneth
Oh,
Kechi, because you
thank
will
you so
shine
much, Anne.
and you will make that
Oh,
difference. You will give people voices where they can't speak. So many people are listening to this conversation. They will need that voice to shine. And it will get people to start thinking, should I start investing and looking out for our continent, especially our
yeah, our
Nigeria?
country.
Thank you so much for that. This is where I
Oh,
thank you for your voice. I thank you for your blessing. And I thank God for keeping you alive, for you to shine that
thank you.
special message on those without a voice. Thank you
Oh,
so much for this conversation.
Thank you. This has been such a pleasure, Anne. Thank you so much.